Welcome to Language Swap, everyone, a fun way to learn English. We are so excited to have you join us today.
Sally, I need to confess something embarrassing.
Oh, this is going to be good. What happened, Alex?
I once answered, "What's your biggest weakness?" in a job interview by saying, "I work too hard and I care too much."
Both in the same answer?
Both in the same breath, like I'd memorized it from some article titled 10 Answers That Will Definitely Not Get You Hired.
And did you get the job?
Please don't ask painful questions this early.
So you didn't just answer badly. You answered badly with confidence, which is honestly worse.
That sentence hurt because it is true.
How long ago was this?
Long enough that I should be over it. Not long enough that I actually am. The worst part is, I knew it was a bad answer while I was saying it. Like, mid-sentence, my brain was going, stop talking, why are you still talking? But my mouth just kept going, I care too much about quality. I hold myself to very high standards. It was like watching a car crash from inside the car.
The car crash you're also driving.
Exactly. I was the driver, the passenger, and the witness, all at the same time.
Okay, so here's what's interesting about that. You're not alone. That answer, the fake weakness dressed up as a strength, is probably the most common mistake in interview history. And it fails for a very specific reason that most people don't think about.
Which is what? Exactly? What's the real reason it fails?
The interviewer has heard it before. Not once, not 10 times, hundreds of times. So when you say, I work too hard, they don't hear a weakness. They hear someone who didn't prepare a real answer.
So what they're actually testing isn't whether you have weaknesses?
No, they already know you have weaknesses. You're human. What they're testing is whether you're self-aware enough to name one honestly and mature enough to show what you're doing about it.
Give me what that actually sounds like, because I work too hard is the only version I've ever practiced.
Okay, something like, I've always struggled with delegating tasks because I want to make sure everything is done exactly right. So this year, I started assigning small projects to junior team members and checking in weekly instead of daily.
That's so different. That sounds like a real person who actually thought about this.
Because it is, there's an actual weakness in there, difficulty delegating, and there's a real specific action, assigning small projects, checking weekly instead of daily. No fake humility, no performance.
Checking weekly instead of daily, that's such a specific detail. It makes the whole thing believable.
That's the secret to almost every interview answer, actually. Specific details make you believable. Vague adjectives make you forgettable. I'm a hard worker is vague. I reduced our response time from 48 hours to 12 is specific. The second one sticks. The first one disappears the moment you leave the room.
I wish someone had told me that before the car crash interview.
Well, we're telling everyone listening right now, so at least your suffering was educational.
Happy to contribute my failures to the collective learning experience. Okay, so that was the weakness question, but the interview usually doesn't start there. It starts with the one that seems easy but actually isn't.
Tell me about yourself, the one that sounds easy but destroys people.
I used to answer that by basically reading my resume out loud. I graduated in 2015, then I worked at this company, then I moved to that company.
That's the second most common mistake. The interviewer already has your resume. They're holding it, literally in front of them.
So they're not asking me to summarize a document they already read.
No, they're asking, who are you beyond this paper, and why should I care about the next 60 minutes we're about to spend together?
When you put it that way, reading my resume out loud sounds almost insulting.
It's not insulting, but it is a missed opportunity. A strong answer does 3 things in about 30 seconds. First, where you are right now in one sentence. Second, one specific thing you've accomplished, with a number if you have one. Third, why you're sitting in this particular chair today, not any other chair.
So instead of my entire work history, something like, I've spent 3 years managing customer support for a tech company where I cut our average response time by 40%. I'm here because I want to bring that same approach to a team twice the size.
That's it. That's 30 seconds. And now the interviewer knows 3 real things about you. Your current role, your actual impact, and your motivation. Everything else can come out in the conversation.
That felt so much better than listing every job I've had since college.
And notice there was a number in there. 40%. That number is doing more work than every adjective you've ever used in an interview combined.
I'm starting to realize my entire interview strategy has been adjectives: dedicated, passionate, motivated.
Those words are the interview equivalent of decorating an empty room. They look like something from a distance, but when the interviewer walks in, there's nothing actually there.
Decorating an empty room, that image is going to haunt me.
Good. Let it haunt you into using numbers instead.
Okay, next disaster. Why do you want to work here?
What did you say in the car crash interview?
Because it's a great company with a lot of growth potential.
Did you know anything specific about the company?
I knew the name and approximately where the building was.
That's it? You walked into an interview knowing the company name and the general neighborhood?
I also knew they had free coffee in the lobby because I saw it on the way in.
That is genuinely the lowest possible level of research.
I know. What should I have done?
One specific detail, that's all you need. A product you've actually used, a recent project they announced, an article their CEO wrote. Anything that shows you spent 15 minutes learning about them before asking them to pay you a salary. I've been using your project management tool for 2 years, and I love how clean the interface is. I want to be part of the team that builds experiences like that.
That's such a different energy from great company, lots of growth.
Because it proves you showed up on purpose, not by accident. And that matters more than most candidates realize.
I feel like we should talk about the part where you have to describe what you've actually done, because I have a habit of either saying too much or too little.
What does too much look like for you?
I start telling one story and then I remember another story inside that story, and then I branch off into a third story, and by the time I finish, neither of us remembers the original question.
The interview ramble, that's incredibly common, and it's usually a sign of two things: nerves and no structure.
How do you stop it?
There's a framework that sounds simple but actually works: situation, task, action, result. Some people call it the STAR method. You describe the situation briefly. 1 sentence, you say what you had to do. 1 sentence, you explain what you actually did specifically. 2 or 3 sentences, and you close with the result, ideally with a number.
Give me the whole thing as one answer so I can hear what it sounds like.
Our customer support team was getting over 500 tickets a day, and our response time was about 48 hours. My job was to bring that number down without hiring more people. I reorganized the ticket categories, built a set of template responses for the most common issues, and created a training program so every team member could handle a wider range of questions. Within 6 months, our average response time went from 48 hours to 12, and our customer satisfaction score went up by 20%.
That sounded like a real person describing a real thing they did, not someone reading a list of adjectives.
And notice, that took about 30 seconds to say. It didn't ramble. Each part did one job, and then it stopped.
The "and then it stopped" part is the hardest for me. My mouth has a very loose relationship with the concept of stopping.
The trick is to end on the result and then be quiet. Silence after a strong result is confident. It says, "I'm done." That speaks for itself.
Silence feels so uncomfortable in an interview, though.
It does, but the interviewer usually fills it. And when they do, they almost always ask a follow-up about the thing you just said, which means you're now having a conversation instead of performing a monologue.
Having a conversation instead of performing a monologue. That might be the most important sentence in this entire episode.
It really is the whole secret. The best interviews don't feel like interviews, they feel like two professionals talking about work they both find interesting.
Speaking of uncomfortable moments, can we talk about the salary question? Because I've historically handled that one like a hostage negotiation where I'm both the hostage and the negotiator.
What do you usually do?
I panic. Someone says, "What are your salary expectations?" And my brain immediately goes blank. And I say something like, "I'm flexible," or "whatever you think is fair."
Whatever you think is fair is probably the most expensive sentence in the English language. It hands all the power to the other side.
So I shouldn't say that.
Definitely not. Here's what works instead. Based on my research and the scope of this role, I'd expect something in the range of 60 to 75,000. But I'm open to discussing the full compensation package.
Based on my research, that sounds like I actually prepared.
Because you did, or you should have. There are websites that show salary ranges for almost every job title in every city. 15 minutes of research gives you a number that sounds informed instead of desperate.
And the range part, instead of one exact number,
A range gives both sides room to negotiate. An exact number can feel like an ultimatum. 60 to 75 is a conversation starter. Exactly, 68 is a conversation ender.
I also want to ask about something I've never had the courage to do, asking about benefits beyond salary.
Can you walk me through the full compensation package? Completely normal question. It shows you understand that salary is one piece of a bigger picture. Health insurance, vacation days, remote work policy, bonuses.
I've literally never asked that in my life.
And you've probably left money or benefits on the table because of it. Companies expect this question. Not asking it doesn't make you humble, it makes you uninformed.
Okay, the part that no one teaches, the 5 minutes after the interview is technically over, but you're still in the room or still on the video call and you have to say something.
Those last minutes are where most people relax too much and accidentally undo everything they just built.
What do you mean by that? What kind of undoing?
I've heard of someone who had a perfect interview for 45 minutes and then, right at the end, made a joke about how their current boss was terrible, just casually, like a throwaway comment.
That doesn't sound that bad, actually.
It told the interviewer that this person talks badly about their boss when they're comfortable, and now the interviewer is wondering, will they talk about me like that in 2 years?
Oh, that's such a small moment with such a big consequence.
Interviews don't end when you think they end. They end when you leave the building or hang up the call. Everything before that is still being observed.
So what should actually happen in those last 5 minutes?
First, ask your questions. You should always have at least 2 ready before you walk in.
What if they already answered everything during the conversation?
Then ask a follow-up on something they said. You mentioned the team is expanding into a new market. Can you tell me a little more about what that looks like?
That shows you were actually listening the whole time.
Exactly. It proves engagement, and it turns the ending from an awkward goodbye into a genuine continuation of the conversation.
What are the strongest questions you can ask?
What does success look like in this role after 6 months? That one is powerful because it shows you're already thinking about performing, not just getting hired.
I've never asked that one. It does sound like something a confident person would say.
What's the biggest challenge someone in this position would face? That one shows maturity. You're not asking for the highlight reel, you're asking for the real picture.
And then you close with what are the next steps?
Which is the question most people are too scared to ask, even though interviewers expect it and actually respect candidates who ask it. Thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed learning about the role, and I'm genuinely excited about the possibility of joining the team. Then, one specific callback to something you discussed, the project you mentioned about expanding into the Latin American market sounds exactly like the kind of challenge I'm looking for.
The callback. That's the thing that makes it personal instead of generic.
Exactly. And then ask what are the next steps in the process, which shows confidence without being pushy.
And what about the follow-up email afterward?
Within 24 hours, short, specific, thank you for our conversation today. I especially enjoyed discussing the new product strategy, and I believe my experience with customer-facing teams would be a great fit.
What if you can't think of anything specific to mention?
Even a small detail works. A joke they made, a project name, anything that proves you are actually listening and not just performing.
Quick confession. After one interview, I sent a follow-up email and accidentally left in the name of the company I'd interviewed with the day before.
You sent the wrong company name in the thank you email.
In the thank you email, thanking them for a conversation that happened at a completely different company.
How did that end for you?
Exactly how you think it ended.
The fix for that is honestly simple. Read the email once for content, then read it a second time specifically checking names, company, and dates. 2 separate reads.
Because your brain autocorrects your own mistakes on the first pass.
Every time, without exception, your brain sees what it expects to see, not what's actually there.
I think the thing I want to say to everyone listening right now is something I wish someone had told me before that first terrible interview.
Go ahead, I want to hear this.
The interviewer is not your enemy. They actually want you to be good. They're sitting there hoping you're the one, because if you are, their search is over and they can stop interviewing people.
That's such an important reframe. They're rooting for you quietly. They want to go back to their team and say, I found someone great.
So when you walk in nervous, thinking they're going to judge everything I say, the reality is more like they're hoping you'll give them a reason to say yes.
And every phrase we covered today is designed to help you give them exactly that reason. All right, let's do our word tour for today.
Let's start with the opening and typical interview questions. Tell me about yourself, answered in 3 parts. Current role, one achievement with a number, why this specific position. What's your biggest weakness, answered with a real weakness, plus a specific action you're taking to improve it. Why do you want to work here, answered with one specific detail about the company that proves you did your research.
Describing your experience without rambling. Situation, task, action, result, the STAR method for keeping any answer structured and focused. I was responsible for, standard and clear for describing your role. I led, stronger than responsible for, shows ownership. I collaborated with, shows you work well across teams. I streamlined, you made something more efficient. I identified a gap and you noticed a problem nobody assigned you and solved it anyway.
Making yourself believable with numbers. Roughly, approximately, and about let you use real numbers even without perfect data. Adding a specific percentage or number to any claim makes it instantly more credible than any adjective.
Now, salary and compensation, the part that makes stomachs drop. Based on my research, I'd expect something in the range of informed and not desperate. Is there room to discuss the offer? Simple and opens the door. Can you walk me through the full compensation package? Shows you understand the bigger picture?
Ending the interview and following up. Thank you for your time. I really enjoyed learning about the role. One specific callback to something discussed during the conversation. What are the next steps? Confident, not pushy. Follow-up email within 24 hours, short, with one specific detail from your conversation.
Your challenge this week, write your own answer to tell me about yourself using the 3-part structure. Current role, one number, why this role, say it out loud, time yourself. It should be about 30 seconds.
And please, learn from my mistakes. Don't say I work too hard. Don't send the wrong company name. And don't answer do you have any questions with no.
If today's episode saved you from a future interview disaster, share it with someone who's about to walk into one.
Thanks so much for listening, everyone.
Good luck out there. We'll see you in the next episode.